You're 22. And how many countries in the world have you visited?
I've traveled to almost 40 countries to date. I researched the more I was buying. I was like, holy, this is the coolest thing that human beings have ever built. You know, it's perfect money. It's, you know, mathematically designed to be capped at 21 million. No one can inflate away.
And we are recording. Cole, how do you pronounce your surname, Cole? It's not one of the easiest ones in the world.
It's a Hungarian surname, actually. It's pronounced Kecskes, but the spelling is very misleading. Yeah.
Right. God, that must have... did you get ragged at school for that?
All the time.
So it's Kecskes, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. We'll go. So everyone, here we are on the podcast with the Freedom Architect, myself and Cole Kecskes. And I was really fascinated to learn about Cole. We met through Adam's following, Adam Hudson, who's a good friend, and you're following me. And your story, Cole, is interesting because if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
You're 22. And how many countries in the world have you visited?
I've traveled to almost 40 countries to date. Yeah.
Almost 40 countries, Gen Z, 22. That is a crazy story in itself. So, firstly, what drives someone being as young as yourself? In fact, look, I'll tell you what, let's take it a step back.
Yeah.
You studied at Bond Uni. What were you studying there?
Yeah, I was actually studying business. I started really young. I started when I was 17 years old. My mum kind of pushed me into doing something at university, and business seemed like the thing that suited me best at the time. And yeah, I spent a couple of years studying business there, and then took a year off and went back afterwards to study psychology again. So yeah, I went to uni twice.
Okay. Wasn't your jam?
No, I enjoyed, the business wasn't really my jam, but I came back to psychology because I thought it would be worthwhile, and I enjoyed the psychology aspect. And to be honest, looking back, I think it combined the business and the psychology, did really well for me. I learned a lot in hindsight, even though I was kind of bagging it a little bit in the moment. So I'm really glad that I did it, yeah.
Okay. And you completed it?
I completed it, yeah, both. Yeah.
Oh, you did both?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you did both degrees and you traveled 38 countries by the time you were currently 22?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So people are going to be asking, how did you squeeze all that in? And let's even go a step back further, actually. Mm-hmm. Brothers, sisters?
Yeah, one little brother. Yeah, he's 19 or just turned 20, actually. Yep.
All right. Mum, dad?
Yeah, mum's here. Dad passed away some 10 years ago, but I'm really close with mum. Yeah, she's back in Australia.
Okay. Sorry to hear that about dad.
That's okay.
If it's off out of bounds, let me know. But
oh, nothing's out of bounds. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What happened with dad?
Yeah, it was cancer. Actually, it was a 2-year kind of battle, completely unexpected, and yeah, a lot happened in that 2 years. He kind of recovered, and then it came back worse, and there were lots of lifestyle changes and family changes that happened in that period. It was, very profound and also transformational time, as difficult as it was.
Pancreatic?
Bowel cancer, I think.
Bowel cancer.
Yeah.
Right. Chemo?
No chemo. He decided to go down the natural route as best as he could, which is how I think we got those 2 years, to be honest. Otherwise, it would have been, I think, for him, difficult to do chemotherapy. He chose not to. He chose to go the natural route at the time. Yeah.
Do you miss him?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, we were close. Yeah. Yeah, but I also feel close still with him. He's not here physically, but, his presence is around and about, and, I do feel close. Yeah.
That's kind of, I think, indicative perhaps of your character and the fact that you are on this journey, it seems. How connected do you think the story of your dad and him no longer being with you is connected to you having traveled like 38 countries?
It might be the most defining piece of the story, I think, because, in that time, in that period when he was sick, we moved out to the country and started living a completely different lifestyle. We were in the city, in Brisbane City at the time, and then we moved out and then we bought property, which is where I spent, the last 10 years kind of growing up in nature and, going on adventures. And we never would have gone out there had he not gotten sick. And, I talk about this with Mum all the time. Things would have been very different if he was still around. I think I would have, been probably still in school, studying at university, something or other. I wouldn't have, he was a bit more strict than Mum, I'll put it like that. And the lifestyle that I've kind of built now, I think it would have been very different. And, for that, there are positives. Obviously, I miss him and wish he was here, but there was so many things that wouldn't have happened had it not turned out that way. I can also see, positives in the dark side of it. So, yeah, and to travel 40 countries, I don't know, we grew up pretty free the last 10 years, and I felt very compelled to get out and explore the world because it occurred to me that, investing in my experience was probably the single best investment that I could make. And where else do you get, the deepest experiences that planet Earth has to offer, if not out exploring planet Earth, and the people that I follow and the teachers that, I kind of put around me, they're all very wise and they all have, long experiences, and big experiences in their lives. And I wanted to attain to, that. And my dad included, he had lots of travel experience. And I think it added to his wisdom, even though I was quite young to receive it. I can see now looking back, where he got that from. And I want that wisdom, when I'm older and when I have kids or grandkids, I want to be able to tell cool stories and, have had a full life. And yeah, that's kind of what drove me to travel. And I got out, I got a taste for it, and I haven't stopped.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. How different do you think your life would have been if Dad was still around?
Extremely different. I mean, if he hadn't got sick, we would have stayed probably living in the city. I would have had a more traditional lifestyle. Mum was a lot more free in that respect, in terms of just letting me kind of figure it out for myself and do as I pleased. I think I would have spent a lot longer at school. I would have finished high school. I didn't even finish high school, and then gone on to university and probably continue there. I might even still be there, you know what I mean? But this way, I kind of went to uni on my own terms, more or less, and then I got to choose. Mum was very, very open and very, supportive, extremely supportive on the direction that I thought, would be right for me, or even just, getting out in the world to figure out the direction that I would like to take with my life. So yeah, to answer your question, it'd be very different.
Yeah. And I mean, please don't take this the wrong way, but, there are things that happen, I guess, in our lives that look pretty shitty. But then on the other side there's always this other side of a coin. And, you can call it, I mean, I don't know how you can call this a gift, actually, when you lose your parents. I mean, my father lost his at the age of 15. His sister and both his parents were murdered. Yet when he was at school and he was 15, right? So even though it hasn't happened directly to me, there's been an indirect effect, I think. There's a ripple effect that happens to all this stuff. You got some time with your dad. How old were you when Dad passed?
I think 12 or 13.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But, you kind of, in a way, you had time to prepare, but it's happened at 12 or 13, and that sucks too, and then you make certain decisions in your life, and you've gone and you've done You've got 2 degrees at uni, and you're now traveling the world. And like you said, I mean, if Dad was around, and I'm sure if you had the choice, you'd want him around. But as a result of just life throwing stuff at you, you then made choices, empowered choices to go and on this discovery tour. And at the same time, you're carrying the burden, I guess, of being the man of the house. You're the elder brother. How does that kind of, like, how does that play a part in decisions that you've also made to go on this, what people would look at as this big freedom journey, right? In a way, but like, help us understand.
Yeah. I think, if I look at my mum and my brother, my going out and doing this kind of on my own accord, and first, like, my brother kind of stayed at home when I started going out and doing my travels, it's had a massive, impact on their lives already, and the decisions that I've made and this kind of path that I've chosen to walk. They're now, and especially my brother, following well and truly in my footsteps, and also seeing, the benefits and the way, we can live, like, to the point where mum is selling her family, like the family home in Australia, so that she can come out with a backpack at 50 years old and travel with us, and explore the world, because, what else? And, if I could say, I think I definitely had a massive influence there. I felt called to go out and do these things, but I also, wanted to kind of look ahead and see ahead on the path for my little brother. And then in certain respects also for my mum, and that's been a really cool part of it, watching Noah, my little brother, go out and do his own epic travels. Like, he's done 25 countries now. He's only 20, 30 countries. Yeah, it does. Yeah. And it's super cool. Like, he's in Japan at the moment, snowboarding up in the mountains, and I'm here in Istanbul. Mum's back in Australia, and, we have a really strong connection, even though we're kind of a world apart. We're very close, and we've only grown closer, I think, through this period of whatever you would call it, intense travel and big upheaval and massive, life journeys.
Wow, that is wild. Hang on, how old is he?
He's 20. He just turned 20.
He's 20. So are you guys sort of like running a competition where you've got a kind of a ladder of who's got the most countries under the belt so far? Or
Well, for the record, I have the most countries.
I know. Yeah. By stretch.
Yeah, I think we definitely compete on experiences. Like, if either one of us has an insane travel experience, we're quick to jump on the phone and, say, I've got a story, and it's always super fun. With Noah, it's really fun.
Is there much overlap in the countries that you've both covered, like to compare notes?
Yeah, well, last year we did a lot of Europe together with another friend of ours, which was super fun. And then toward the end of last year, we went to Nepal. It was my second time and Noah's first. And we were up, hiking in the Himalayas and having a great time. He's super fun to travel with. He's very chill, and he's a good travel partner.
Right. Okay. He studied it as well?
He did. He studied a little bit. He didn't finish his course because he was studying like music technology, and he found that it wasn't really kind of indicative of what he wanted to do and the path he wanted to take. So he stopped, and now he kind of works remotely and does visual effects and animation and sound design just from his laptop anywhere in the world. And he works, and he's on his own path.
He's on his own path. Yeah, he's working it out himself and forging a path. That's wild. That is like just a free kid right there, let alone yourself, right? Both adults, really. And you said before a calling. Let's double click on that. What do you mean, and what sort of calling, and to achieve what, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if it was to achieve something in particular. I felt called. Like, I'd done the university thing, and I'd tried, different opportunities at home and worked different jobs and saved up money. And, I thought like I could go the traditional route and find a proper job with this university certificate that I've just achieved and, start doing what, everyone does,
Go
or
get
I
a
could go
job.
and
Go and
exactly,
get a job.
but I don't know, I felt compelled to go and see what else there was first. I knew that I could always do this job thing. I had the certificate, and yeah, I just felt called to deeper experiences that you just can't get from, Australia or where you grew up, And yeah, I started with, like, my first solo trip was to Southeast Asia, and some of the third world countries over there was just extremely eye-opening and also super fun. And I stepped it up the second time and went to Egypt and Morocco and Spain, and it opened my mind even more. And yeah, after that, after I got a taste and saw how other people live and the different cultures and the people I met and the connections I made, there was no way I was going to stop. So I came back periodically, and I went back to, after the Egypt excursion, I came back for a year and went back to uni. But mostly I used that year to just save up as much money as I possibly could, doing every random job that I could find, from like mowing lawns to growing medicinal mushrooms in the spare room in the house and selling them to friends and family. And yeah, I saved up as much as I could so I could just travel perpetually. And it's been like 16 months since I started on that journey, and I haven't stopped. I've returned home twice just for a little bit, just to help mum pack up the house. And yeah, I've done like 30 countries in the last 16 months alone. And I still feel called. I don't know what it is or where it comes from, but every step I take, like you were saying the other day, every step you take, it kind of, the next step appears. And I've just been stepping. I'm not so concerned about where the path leads, only the direction that I'm taking. I focus mostly on the direction. If I'm heading in the right direction, then I'll just look for the next step. And that's what I've been doing. And to be honest, yeah, it's very fulfilling and I love it a lot. And I can see myself doing this for the next years.
Interesting. Wow. That's wild. I mean, yeah. And just for people, as far as looking at the next step, I was sort of quoting Martin Luther King and how he would say that, look, we're planning things in life. I mean, and you look at the big picture and it can be overwhelming. And, you don't need to work it all out now. And it's funny how it kind of gets served to you at the right time. So, all you need to do is be able to see the next step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. And so that's what Cole was talking about there. But so what's the question I'm trying to ask is, like, what's driving you, Cole? I mean, you've got all these countries under your belt. It's like someone would say, all right, it sounds like a free life. It sounds a bit exhausting. Mind you, being in your 20s or even your 30s or, hey, even in your 50s, I've traveled a shitload. Not as many countries as you, right? But done a lot of time in the air. What was driving me initially, really, it was, okay, there was a sense of, cool adventure, but it was tied to a job. And fortunately, a lot of it was job funded. It was in the corporate world. It was in IT, and yeah, moved from Australia, I went from Adelaide, Sydney, and then to Singapore. I was in Singapore for 14 years, blah, 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 and did all of Asia. And now I find myself based in Europe because this chapter of my life, I want to be checking out Europe. But I'm in my 50s, you're in your 20s, and you've covered a lot of ground. What's the motivating force? Someone could say, it's like, what it's almost like the U2 song, I still haven't found what I'm looking for kind of thing. Like, what is it? What is it that's like, is there a plan, or is it just, I haven't done that one yet, I'm going to go and do that one. I haven't done that. Oh, let's go and do that one. I'm just going to go and do that one. Sell some more mushrooms, medicinal, of course. Right? So help us understand.
Yeah. Well, there is a plan now, but like I was saying in the beginning, I just wanted to get out and see what was out here. And, it doubled as investing in my experiences. I just wanted more and more experiences under my belt because I saw value in having those experiences. I could draw from more, experience and make better decisions and have better conversations. And it just seemed logical to me at the time. And after this last year, it's kind of evolved now. I've gotten a really good taste of a lot of places, and a deep look into, other places I've spent, time. And it's evolving now into more business interest. Where do I want to set up and build? I've kind of surveyed the landscape. Where do I want to establish myself for the next 5 or 10 years to really make an impact, but also build something meaningful? And yeah, so now I'm traveling. I'm in Istanbul at the moment, but I'm heading slowly over to Paraguay to assess the tax residency and the residency pathway over there, to set up my company in Paraguay. I have a territorial tax system there, so all foreign sourced income is 0% tax. And when you compare that with a place like Australia, where I did try and start a company, I had it open for 6 months and closed it down just because the regulatory burden was insane, and then the taxes are doubly insane on top of that. And it's just really difficult. And so I've now been forced kind of to look elsewhere to conduct my business and my investing in a place that, one, treats me better, and two, that I can, leverage every advantage, because, I feel like I need to as a young person. In Australia, it's difficult to get anywhere and get anything done. And so I was forced to kind of look abroad, and that's where I'm at now, is surveying different countries for real estate investment, for setting up companies, for tax residency, for backup residency, for Plan B passports. So I'm very deliberate now. Even in Istanbul, I'm kind of here on holiday, but I'm also looking at real estate. I'm looking at the banking system. I'm looking at the history of the place to get a clearer picture. And I still get to travel and do what I was doing anyway, but now there's more of a purpose. And so, and like the other day I was in Cyprus because I thought, which is where we met and we talked. And I thought Cyprus was going to be the place for me, where I'd set up my company. And so I flew there and I went to check it out and realized it might not be for me, or there might be a better option. And so now I'm heading to Paraguay because it looks like the better option for me. And so, that's how I'm traveling at the moment. There's definitely a purpose behind it. And that's the direction that I'm kind of looking for.
Right. Okay. All right. So this is starting to add up now. Yeah, you touched on a few points there that kind of hit a nerve with me, and having moved from Australia. I mean, everybody's really different with this too, as far as the reasons they're leaving and the criteria they're going to use for where they're going to land and pitch their flag and call it a plan B and then a plan C. And it's funny how this is now becoming the architecture for the way people are living their lives. But what's just amazing is that here you are representing, really as a leader, as a result of what you're doing, Gen Z, kind of looking at this, or Gen Z if you're an Aussie, and trying to establish yourself somewhere, because you can see the future in Australia, UK, Canada, Sweden, where else? A number of the fully developed Western countries that have been spending up big time on printed money, and now it's becoming such an issue where there are loans to pay that we need to go and find the money from somewhere, and tax all of a sudden, the big claw comes out to sort of like, okay, we'll have that, thank you. We'll go and tax you on stuff you haven't even realised yet. I mean, who would have thought that was going to happen just years ago in Australia, right? I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
The audacity that either incompetent or bought out governments and those in self-interest and preservation that should be, especially sitting in a public seat as a public servant, representing the populace interest, not one's own. It's like, what a fucking mess in those countries. And this is driving our young generations that we are trying to now clean up the mess. Happy to say I'm not a boomer. I made it into X. And I think a lot of my ex-brethren, the likes of Adam Hudson's of the world, are on this similar crusade to go, you know what? Some things need to be fucking well cleaned up here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got on the hobby horse soapbox there, mate. But I feel you, and it pisses me off. At the same time, it's created a need for you to push the envelope and go and discover the world, let alone, your dad passing and going, okay, I'm now the man of the house. How do I create a future for the family? Where is it safe to be? Where do we set up a business? Where do we move our assets? Would that be right?
Exactly right, yes.
Right. So, okay. All right. So let's move a bit away from the serious stuff for a moment. people you've met along the way. I mean, there must be some that stand out, whether it be a relationship maybe or just amazing people. I mean, I love that piece, right?
Yeah.
I love connecting. Any stories you've got there of some super scary people or like awesome people or someone you fell in love with or whatever? I mean, what's been happening along this 38 country tour?
Yeah, I mean, probably all of the above, to be honest. Yeah, I've had some scary experiences. I've had some amazing experiences. And yeah, I meet people in every single country I go to. I kind of make a point of it, whether it's, other backpackers, foreigners, or, the local people as well. There's always, connections. And yeah, it's incredible. Like, to give a few examples, I met a girl halfway up a mountain in the Himalayas, and we hiked. We ended up getting along and hiking together for a couple of days with her family. And yeah, this Nepalese girl who lived, in Australia, and it turns out she moved like an hour from my house in Australia, and I ended up going back home and having, striking a really beautiful connection with her after having met her halfway up a mountain in the middle of nowhere, Himalayas. And yeah, it was awesome. And yeah, another, like here in Istanbul, like I was here once before last year for just 2 days, and I was coming from the airport on the train, and I got extremely lost at the train station. I had no idea where I was. I had no phone service, and I kind of resolved to talking to a security guard in broken Turkish to try and figure out where the heck I was. And this girl kind of walks past and asks if I need help. And we ended up, obviously I did need help, so I said yes. We ended up striking some really epic conversation and, hanging out that period. And now I'm back here, staying at her place. And she's become a really good friend of mine. And, just from being lost at the train station and asking for help, I've had on the other side of the spectrum some dodgy experiences. I was in India last year in Delhi, and I came from the airport, and there was what I encountered was this ultra sophisticated tourist scam where people who look like they work for the metro would kind of tell you that the area where you were staying in the city, there was rioting going on and you couldn't stay there. And then you had to get like a permit from this tourist office in the city in order to get into this area where my accommodation was booked. And so I ended up at this tourist office, which looked completely legit, like a government office. And they said, there's no buses leaving the city. You can't go to where your accommodation is. Your only option is to catch a taxi, a $300 taxi ride out of the city because it's not safe. I ended up kind of sniffing it out, and I left. I went to a 5-star hotel and talked to the people at the reception. Of course, there was no rioting. There was no issue. The buses were leaving the city. They just wanted $300 out of me to pay for a taxi. And they had they called a fake bus company. They called my accommodation, but it was just a setup. There was someone else on the line. And so experiences like that, you kind of see the other side of humanity. That was a cool story. I almost got scammed, but not quite.
And what else? What's been the most scariest moment you've had?
The scariest? I think almost getting taken out by an avalanche in the mountains in Nepal. That was pretty freaky. You don't realize how lethal those things are until you see one up close, or you have to cross one. Hiking up this valley in the Annapurna region of Nepal, we was like 2 minutes ahead of us. We were the first people to walk across this fresh river of ice that had just fallen off the top of this mountain that we were hiking up. And then coming back down, we crossed an avalanche that was actually taking place. We couldn't stay where we were, so we just had to book it across this active avalanche, which was intense, but also super fun. Like, it's a raw adventure up there. But the first one was terrifying, to be honest with you, because you realize how vulnerable you are up there. And yeah,
right.
that was scary.
Like a really thunderous sort of sound that you can hear. Yes. My God. I mean, I remember Threadbow when that happened. That might have been before your time. And one guy survived that. I can't remember his name right now. And he was like buried right next to his partner who passed away while they were together. Yeah. Stuart Diver. Oh, that came from nowhere. How was that? Still got it. And kind of that story kind of faded away, which is crazy. But he talks about this experience, but being trapped under it and surviving, being the only survivor. But yeah, that's going to be, you really get to understand what it is to be a human being when you're out in nature's forces like that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Wow. What's been the most beautiful experience you've had?
Oh, that's a good question. I've probably had a few. I don't know. I could rate them. Any experience up in the Himalayas in Nepal, those mountains are just unbelievable. They will, like my experience was, terrified to in awe to like, how is this even a thing to like, this has to be God, up in these mountains. They just do things to the human mind and to your eyes to see things this big and this profound. And then I've had other experiences like, honestly, this week that I've had in Istanbul has been one of the most, the greatest of my entire life. Just this city, its exotic nature and the people and the culture and the food and just the melting pot. It's been extremely beautiful. What else? I've had, experiences with locals where I've been in difficult situations and they've helped and they've just like, as if it's the least they can do, for a person they don't know from a country they've never heard of, in this random town up in who knows where, in India when I was extremely sick. And there's no shortage. And I think that's part of what keeps me out here and keeps me invigorated by this whole thing. It's just these experiences, and you never know like where they're going to come from, and they'll just take me by surprise. And there's no shortage.
Amazing. God, you're really like out there on the edge, living life, Cole. You've soaked up so much already. I mean, sure, I've traveled a lot, but it's been, a lot of the time it's from one Airbnb or a hotel to another. And a lot of time it was like work. So it's like, you're doing dinners somewhere and it's like executive shit, right? You've really been getting out there, and by the age of 22, it's blowing my mind, done so much and got such a broad frame of reference of life. What is it that you really appreciate now that if you hadn't had all these experiences, wouldn't have really perhaps come to light until maybe later in life, if at all?
Yeah, I think probably the influence on my mind that these experiences have had, that I know for sure without them, I just wouldn't have the same mindsets that I do now, Like, I feel I have a kind of a global, mindset when no place is really off limits to me, not because, or no place is off limits because I feel comfortable anywhere, everywhere because of these experiences. And, kind of now that I'm transitioning into more of a business approach, it feels like, these borders that we've created are simply imaginary, and everywhere feels like my backyard. And I can go and invest in Paraguay or in Europe or in, who knows wherever I want. And I don't feel limited to my home country. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't have had shifts in my mind without all of these, travel experiences. I think the influence on my mind has been the most profound. I don't even remember what, my thoughts were or where my head was at before all of this travel. It's not even, it's way, way, way behind.
That is so good. I mean, it takes decades for us, and has, for those of us that are now, 30s, 40s, 50s, to get to that unlimited way of thinking. And, we get so programmed, and, especially when, without going into the war stories, it was about getting a degree. It was about getting the job. It was about the 9-to-5 grind. And if you got a good job, you will be happy. At least that was the idea, right? And mind you, that influence was coming from parents that had come out of like the Burma phase in World War II, and they were happy just to be alive, right? So it's been a bit of an evolution. But the point you make around being able, you've given yourself permission to go and do this. And for those of us that were conditioned and programmed, and Adam Hudson and I have discussed this a number of times, I remember just one day we're having lunch and he says, it's like, we don't give ourselves permission. And I'd kind of thought of it, but I've never thought of it in those particular words. And I thought, that's right. It's like, why am I thinking like I have to be stuck there? You know, are there responsibilities I have that I can cover being location independent? You know, and now we're moving into a phase of being somewhat like time independent. You know, your value is not limited to you being at the white collar factory floor or what used to be the blue collar factory floor. And we're all creators. What do you know? We've got this, and I know you're playing in this space too around cybersecurity, which fascinates you and you're getting passionate about, because everything is kind of moving into the cloud, crypto, the whole financial system's been disrupted, right? You've got old, perhaps darker forces that are being tested. And there's this tug of war going on right now in the financial system. And I know you're right all over this. So what does, and I think this is also where you're kind of looking at, you know, to talk about the business, as you said, and where you're going with business. You looked at Cyprus and you thought, okay, great to drop in here, come and check it out, doing the recce. We've got a family over here right now, and they're spending like 2 or 3 weeks here to see if this is where they want to settle. But your business and tax life doesn't have to be where you're living your life necessarily. So as you start to set up this global architecture, it's like, where do I want to spend my time personally? Like for me, I love Bali, right? Because I see it as the wellness center or the sanctuary or respite. And I think, okay, cool. I've got Australia. My kid, he's 19. He's in Adelaide. And so I think, and my dad, he's at a nursing home there. I think that's got to form part of it, right? So I've got a generation either way there that I've either got some responsibilities towards, plus they're they're relatives, right? Close relatives, as close as it gets. And then I've got, Bali, and then I've got Cyprus, business and tax, but I'm also of Greek heritage. So for me, it's very different for each individual. And the weightings they put on a lot of different criteria. And then there's the complexity of every place has different rules, be it the 183-day rule, and Cyprus is a 60-day, provided you don't do another 183 days anywhere else, where that triggers you being a tax resident somewhere else. All these things. And you've seen a fair bit of this as you've researched, and you're looking at Paraguay. You're currently in Istanbul. So, so you've jumped through Cyprus, you're going, maybe not for me in Cyprus. Tommy has his reasons why. Even Adam, he's gone set up now for tax. He's gone Panama, right? He's moved it out of Cyprus. That works for him. I want to get a plan C for, it'll be around the Americas, because geographically I haven't got something there yet, and I'd perhaps like to have a future passport there as well. So for you, where are you where is your thinking right now? And you did some research on Paraguay versus Panama as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've looked very hard into this because it's kind of a big thing to leave a country, leave its tax residency and set up in another place, let alone, a super foreign country like Paraguay. Like I mentioned, I researched Cyprus extremely heavily. I spent, months learning the ins and outs, and I thought this was the place. And then, I showed up and I got the feel and realized it might be a little bit too expensive for me. And also I saw Adam go over to Panama, and it kind of opened my mind to this whole place called South America, which I'm yet to travel to actually. And I thought, let's have a look at Panama. Is there any other place around, or is there any other place that's better than Cyprus? Because for me, at the moment, freedom is still top priority. I want to be, able to travel when I want, where I want, and not be stuck in a place, even if it's for 60 days, which is, still really good for Cyprus, the 60-day rule. But I'm a little bit more picky. And so I discovered Paraguay and their minimal day kind of count for tax residency, their ease of access, and also it's like a plan B or C. And I started learning about the rules, and it looked very appealing to me. It's more low cost. It's more, the ease of access is higher than Panama or Cyprus. And so it ticks a lot of the boxes for me. And it also would give me a base in South America. And I have obviously the Australian passport, and I'm fortunate enough to have a European passport arriving at the end of the year. And so I'll have Europe and Australia. And to me, the only thing that's left would be South America. And I've kind of have a web, like you say, a global architecture. And yeah, Paraguay looks extremely promising. I'm yet to visit there. I'm on my way slowly, and I'll get the lay of the land in person, which is how I like to do it. And, worst case, it doesn't work out, but I've traveled to a new country and I've had a great time, and I've met new people, which is what I wanted to do anyway. So I can't really lose. And that's how I like it. That's how I kind of live. And yeah, Paraguay, I'm super pumped to check it out.
Yeah, look, I'm super pumped to learn more about it now that you're there, and as Adam and I communicate, I remember he was excited about Paraguay. He sort of saw it as an option as well, having learned from one of the Bitcoin conferences that he attended. And so then I thought, oh, yeah, let's have a look at this. And like you said, so it's similar, right? It's kind of like Australia. Yes, we have a passport. We're born there. I, by heritage, have a Greek passport as well. And then, you've got your European one. And then coming up, and then having one over that part of the world, around Paraguay, Panama. I mean, they're right next to each other. The Caribbean, is another option. But around that area as well. And you go, okay, I've got all three. I can push a button to move around into whichever jurisdiction I like. And it's really interesting because you look at where the world is right now. It's got this disruption. There's a massive amount of change. It's accelerating. We are becoming global, becoming sovereign individuals. And in fact, there's a book, and I think I mentioned it to you, called The Sovereign Individual, which really opened my mind a number of years ago. You can get it on Audibles as well. And it talks about what's happening kind of right now, which is fascinating, and how countries, nation states are breaking down. These countries are competing for your tax dollar. So they have to become super competitive for your tax dollar. And so you've got countries like the US and China competing in this AI race, and, expecting huge GDP increases as a result of this. And not that we'll bore everybody now, but when you look at crypto and stable coins, and now how money can be printed by anybody that goes along with the Genius Act of having some form of project coin, and if it's a stable coin, that it has to be backed by US dollar or equivalent in gold. So they're looking to proliferate more of their debt across the world quickly, in time for before everything collapses in the US economically, as this can they kept kicking down the road has got so big that now the bond terms are like down to 3 months, and they're going to try and print. That's what they're trying to do with the stable coin, and then hoping the GDP inflection is going to happen with regards to AI and robotics, and Elon saving the US, let alone the world perhaps. So yeah, it's really interesting. What's your sort of views on that in crypto, and what are you doing there to kind of like, pave your path forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love crypto, Bitcoin especially. I've only been in the space pretty recently. Adam Hudson orange-pilled me massively, and I've been...
Him again, it's all his fault. Bloody Adam.
Yeah. No, I'm extremely grateful for Adam for the Bitcoin thing and lots of other things, because it's changed my life, to be honest. I've only been researching it kind of religiously for 4 months, and the more I researched, the more I was buying. I was like, holy, this is the coolest thing that human beings have ever built. It's perfect money. It's, mathematically designed to be capped at 21 million. No one can inflate away your economic value. You can store it, you can transport it with ease. You can move $1 billion of it to Tokyo in 5 seconds for $1, and it just destroys the technology that we have now in terms of banks and wires and the infrastructure we have. And I just see it as an evolution of the financial system. I believe the universe wants to evolve. Nature evolves. It's just what it does, and I think this is part of that. And we do have a role to play. And Satoshi Nakamoto gave us Bitcoin, and now it's evolving faster than any of us can even digest, I feel. And, I love watching the space. I'm invested in Bitcoin. I travel with my Bitcoin. No one, can take it away from me. It's stored in my mind, and it's the coolest thing. And the technology is so unique. And I think yeah, for the freedom architect, it's, one incredibly powerful tool in the tool set, to be able to travel freely with your economic wealth that no one can steal or inflate away. Yeah, that's my kind of view on Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bullish, very bullish.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of the blockchain being kind of the platform that all this stuff is being built on, and Bitcoin being the immaculate conception, I think is just amazing. I mean, it just seems to be this God-given way for people to exchange value with each other without any parasitic energy-sucking forces in between. Did you mention banks a moment ago? So, without adding value. In fact, being able to leverage 10 times with fractional lending.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like, talk about printing money. Holy shit. Talk about leverage. I want that deal.
Yeah.
Yet if you counterfeit money, you go to jail. So, all right, who's controlling the Reserve Bank? Oh my God, I'm getting another soapbox now. Yeah, we're part of the same religion, right? And the architecture piece, I think there's other components that need to be taken into account there. Everybody's been so programmed and conditioned on focusing on money and this state of survival. And I kind of look at it and think, well, wait a minute. Am I short of any food? No. In fact, I've got to be careful how much I consume. And I get to live somewhere. Like I've got this beautiful brand new studio here in Cyprus, which I'm renting. I may look to buy here. I'm sort of sniffing around and go, I had somewhere great to sleep last night. I think, okay, physically things are kind of sorted. The rest is in your head, and that we can change, right? At least some of us that are capable of stretching and getting into the mental gym and learning some stuff and how to change the program, right? And becoming aware of things. But you've got, I think, when you're looking at your freedom architecture, you've got the financial piece, which we're talking about in business, but you've got the other part we've been talking about extensively, which is the geographical piece and being location independent. So financially independent, location independent. And then the other key piece, which really is the foundation, I think, is health. Because you don't get to play in either of those games if your health and your foundation's there, not in order. So if you're looking to architect a house, you better make sure it's on solid foundations if you want to have a good experience and be able to share in that. So optimizing that is really key as well. So I think those three things are kind of like symbiotic, right? Three legs on the stool of freedom. So would you agree, or anything else you'd want to add to that? I mean, that's kind of what I've come up with what I've been trying to sort of put out there.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Yeah, it's like if your health goes, you don't have a business, you know what I mean? And yeah, that foundation is absolutely important just for any aspect of life. And only, with a healthy lifestyle do you actually get to build these cool structures and have these cool strategies and implement them, as you say. So yeah, 100%, agree. And I would also go further and say that the reason we build these, this kind of global architecture is to maintain an epic lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle. They all kind of complement each other, in my experience. And yeah, I mean, there's lots of reasons. There's lots of global changes going on now that having plan Bs and plan Cs, are really kind of important in my view. But even just for, living a good life, having these systems that feed back into your health, and then your health feeds back into your systems, I think it can't be underestimated. Absolutely. Right.
And so just to change gears a bit then, cybersecurity we talked about. And I remember you saying you're pretty passionate about it. What is it that you're passionate about? Why does it sort of charge you up so much?
Yeah. Well, I follow AI extremely closely, just out of my own personal interests and more recently professional. But the ability that AI has given big tech to kind of monitor the user's information and store data and gather information. Like we store so much of our digital lives digitally now, to see what these big companies have access to, and also governments, it kind of freaked me out, to be honest. And I started looking, just for my own personal peace of mind, for ways to protect my digital life and the information I do put online. And I started uncovering, that as the technology grows that would, kind of surveil you and farm your data and sell it, so does the technology to protect yourself is also growing. So I do feel there is a balancing force there. And I started learning about the balancing force because I freaked out. Like, with AI, how much can they figure out and know and, learn about you just from your digital presence? And yeah, I learned, started learning about these incredible free or low-cost tools that anyone can have access to that are freely available, that you can use to transform your digital life, optimized for security, for privacy, for autonomy. And I just saw it as a no-brainer. And I just started getting really passionate about it. And I've since started building kind of a curriculum around this, showing people, you don't need high-tech knowledge to be able to leverage these tools and completely transform the way you use these devices, optimized for autonomy, privacy, and self-sovereignty. And I think it feeds into the freedom aspect as well, freedom online, as much as the rest. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's not ready yet, but it will be soon, and I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. Very cool. I think massive opportunity there. Another good friend of Adam for many years, and now a good mate of mine, is very much in that space, very experienced. So my tech background, his cyber security background, we kind of overlap a bit, but it's definitely a space where our new kind of borders that we develop for our own kind of backyards is really key, and to have total control over the keys to the gates when it comes to cybersecurity while you're living this physically location independent world and time value independent world, locking away your value and keeping it safe, in the cloud. So what would be your advice as we sort of look to sort of land this? What would be your advice to others your age? Like, a lot of them are still going through the education, the antiquated education factory is university. I mean, my son's going to become a professional musician, so it kind of sort of still fits for him where he's there and he's got someone that's helping him, teaching him and so on. But there's a lot of stuff around music you can just learn online like anything, right? There's just YouTube.
Yeah.
But what's your advice to most people on average in your generation? Well, and others probably too, but I want to make sure your generation gets the most value here.
Yeah. Well, I think I would start with you can't underestimate the power of travel and experiencing new countries and cultures. And I've used my travel experiences as a massive foundation, the primary foundation for this kind of life that I'm crafting now. And, without that foundation, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be having this conversation, period. So I would recommend to young people, just save up a few $1,000. It's pretty easy, and just go to a third world country and live on $10 a day and just see what happens, make decisions on the fly, show up to a new place and figure it out, put the phone away and try and communicate with a local in their language and fail at it miserably and then laugh. All of it adds to the experience, and you learn so much. And it's not like you just learn how to travel. You learn how to make decisions on the fly and to be adaptable and to go through things that are difficult and, come out. And those lessons are, they translate across to business and to lots of things, to be able to make decisions quickly comes from travel, traveling spontaneously. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is utilize the tools that you have available, the tools that we have today as young people, and just anyone who's, got a laptop. It's kind of insane the ability that AI has, just, in terms of ChatGPT or Grok or Perplexity, to craft strategies and to take in personal context and give you ideas and to give you solutions. It's unbelievable. I use AI hours every single day. It's kind of like my day job at this point, just coming up with strategies and testing them and coming up with thought experiments. It's kind of, and it's how I've been able to start building this global architecture is with the foundation, again, of AI. It just does things that the human mind can't do. It has access to more data than I do, and it can make decisions quicker. And why wouldn't I use it to the best of my ability? And so I'd say that as well. And the third thing I would say is take stock of where you are and where you want to go. It's much easier to define the roadmap on where you are. Like, you have to know where you are and also the destination where you kind of want to go. And then the steps kind of present themselves. It's my experience that I've set an intention to do this, and this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. What are the steps? And if you ask and you're sincere, like, life will present. And those are the three things that I would say to give advice to another young person. I think what I've used. Exactly.
Right. Pretty good for a young person. I think all generations could learn something from that. What was it? Education, travel. Travel is education. Mm-hmm. The things you learn and you won't forget, because a lot of them will emotionally affect you. And then using mental grunt tools to take all the mental grunt away. AI, I mean, what an amazing tool. It allows you to free up to become more of a creator and use your imagination. I did a story on that just in the last 24 hours, right? As I'm sort of revising my vision board. And your third one was, what was your third one?
Take stock of where you are and decide where you want to go. Yeah.
Right, and the next steps, and they'll unfold in front of you. Like you said, you see things that you want to see. If you set an intention and your brain is thinking that way, all of a sudden, from a quantum point of view, those things start to appear. It's like a certain car you've never seen before in a certain color, and someone says, have you seen one of these? It's a blah, 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 blah. And you go, no. And then all of a sudden, you're seeing them all the time, right? They're appearing. Hang on, they were always there before. You just never saw them. And so it's funny how you set an intention, then you start seeing the things that you need to see to help you get that next step. And this is what's been kind of somehow taken away from us as, in humanity. And I think we're, like you said, at that point now where things are changing a lot and so quickly. And I think, so the sovereign individual and the Bitcoin standard, if you want to learn about Bitcoin, go and pull that down on Audibles or whatever your favorite is. And that's going to give you a great idea there as well. Any other final tips, Cole? What not to do?
What not to do? Oh, that's a good one. Don't stay still. Don't get complacent. Just get on the move and,
just do it.
In whatever, just do it in whatever way that it works for you. Exactly. You won't lose. You'll just get more experience, and experience pays a dividend of wisdom. And, we all want more wisdom. I think the world needs more wisdom. So,
mate, amazing last hour with you. I think I can't imagine where you're going to be in years to come. Hopefully you'll remember me and we can still have a beer.
Absolutely, Tommy.
Right. Look forward to seeing your journey. And hopefully we're going to be in the same country at the same time and sharing that journey, if not remotely, at least. And I think you're just setting a fantastic example for your generation to get off not being totally enveloped by digital. It's a great tool, but that's all it is. It can become crack, and crack's not good for you. And I think just for all generations in the example that you're setting, mate. So continue to follow that, spiritual journey that you're on. I'm sure Dad is connected into you with everything that you're doing and is super proud. I know your mum is, and I look forward to seeing where you guys are going to set up, if it's going to be in Paraguay or wherever. And I look forward to coming over and doing another one of these, the next episode down the track, and interviewing Mum and maybe your young bro as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Tommy. It was really a pleasure to talk to you and to discuss these things. I think it's so important, these conversations and your questions. People want to know, and yeah, this podcast I think will do extremely well. So I'm excited for you too.
Yep. Thank you, mate. This is just the beginning. It'll be rough around the edges. We look back and go, oh my God, did I do that? But you got to start somewhere. Like life is an evolution, although I think right now we're in a revolution. Yeah. Look forward to sharing some more experiences with you on the next pod that we do, mate. So all the best, safe travels, and look forward to the updates.
Awesome. Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks, mate.
Hey, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the podcast with Cole. What an amazing young man. 22, 2 degrees, 40 countries. I don't think I've traveled 40 countries yet, and I'm decades older than he is. It's going to be really interesting to watch how this young man's life evolves, the example that he's setting and creating his way forward for not only the young generation, but for all of us, also in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's going to be really interesting to see what he does with regards to tax jurisdiction. What's he going to do for health and wellness? Where's he going to set up some places that he'd like to spend more time and live? So we're looking forward to getting him back at some stage and keeping an eye on him. And if you'd enjoy this content, please subscribe so we can bring more of this to you automatically. Comment on your thoughts on this young man. Share it forward. I think there's people that could learn from the example that he's setting. And that can be anywhere from the younger generation to those of us that are retiring, wondering, okay, we're now free. What are we going to do with the rest of our lives? Which brings me to another topic. Until the next podcast, stay free.